Right, folks, let's do it. OK, we're talking about the new state pension. This is specifically for men born after the 5th of April 1951, women born after the 5th of April 1953, and anybody younger than that. Now, you need 35-ish, only ish, not exact-ish, qualifying national insurance years to get the full state pension. But many people are missing national insurance years. You might have had years abroad, you might have had a low income, you might have had a career break. And the key to all this is when the new state pension was brought in, transitional arrangements were put in place. Now, they were due to end on the 5th of April this year. But because so many people were trying to do this and the Future Pension Centre's helpline was so jammed, that was extended to the 31st of July. Yesterday, the day before this programme, which was all about that deadline, they extended it again. Coincidence? I'm not sure. The extension is now the 5th of April 2025, a massive extension for 2 years, a real game changer. Yeah, thank you. You can take you can take a deep breath to do this. Some of you have more time, but I would still get on to considering it pretty quickly. So what do these transitional arrangements do? Well, they let you plug any gaps back to 2006. After the transition, you can only go back 6 tax years. So currently, that'd be 2017. You can see how many years are in play now that won't be after transition. And that's why considering it so important. It's also worth noting that the price of buying extra years has been frozen too. But before we get on to buying years, please always check if you're entitled to national insurance credits for free. If you were a carer, if you had childcare responsibilities, if you had an illness, you may be. The place to go for that is the National Insurance Credits page on gov.uk.
I've got a success on free credits. This is from
Lovely.
GJ. After watching your programme, I claimed for specified adult childcare credits as I was not going to receive a full state pension. Success. Instead of getting £171 per week state pension, I now get £185.15 per week. Thank you, Martin. You're a star.
Thank you. It's funny because all I was doing in my head was going, £171 a week, that's £14 gain, 14 times 50, that's £700 a year. If she lives 20 years, 700 times 20 is £14,000,
yeah.
Which is why this is as important as it is. I need another clap. But that's the point. By the way, specified adult childcare, what that means is that's often, I call it grandparents' childcare credit, because if the parents are working, they're getting national insurance anyway, so they don't need their national insurance credit they get for looking after the children. And if a grandparent is looking after the children for them, lots of I's and T's to cross and things to read on this, you can transfer the credit so the grandparent gets the national insurance years instead of the parent, because they're already getting their own. And that's what that comes from. So that's well worth checking out there.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Should I go to my next page?
Yeah, let's go.
Here we go. Let's go on to the next page. OK, so the first thing I want you to look at on gov.uk is your national insurance record. Here's one. It's from one of the team who's a lot younger than me. If you read it carefully, you'll notice that. You see, there's a couple of years in there that are not full years. So that means, and because they're after 2006, you can't buy before that, they could still be bought. The next thing I want you to do, quick note for people on universal credit. Here we go, bring that bit up. There we are. If you're on universal credit, you should get national insurance credits, but they may be missing because there was a fault discovered in 2019. And from what I hear, still got some checking to do on this, the 2017-18 and 2018-19 tax years are now fixed, but the years afterwards may not be fixed in some people's cases until March 2024. So for now, if you're not getting it showing and you're near retirement, they will manually update it 4 months before retirement. The good news is now they've extended the deadline. This isn't the problem it was for people who can't find out what the national insurance is. But that was the reason I put it in. Anyway, moving on from that, if you're missing national insurance years, like that example there, you go and you get your state pension forecast. Also on gov.uk, you need your government gateway to do this. Now, this is an example of a full state pension. As you can see, £203.85, and it will also state that that's the most that you can get. So in this case, even if you had missing years, there is no point in buying extra. You cannot get more than the full state pension if that's what your prediction is. But you might equally have one that looks like this. Look, forecast 17470. You can improve your forecast. So if you are missing years since 2006 and you're not forecast to get the full amount, now you are in that sweet spot for considering whether you should be looking to buy years if you can't get them for free. So, let's move on. If you've got a shortfall, do you buy more national insurance years? Well, if you've got gaps from 2006 to 2017, I would decide soon if it's worth buying. Now, look, the most important people are those who are already of state pension age or very near state pension age, because in your case, the sooner you buy, the sooner you get the uplift, which buying the extra years gets you. You get the bigger state pension. For those aged 45 to 65, you're in the point where it's pretty easy to see if you're going to need to make up that shortfall because you won't make it up from working. Probably more accurate, it's age 50 onwards, but I went a little bit younger just so people will have a look at it. Those who are much younger, I can see you were 23, you told me in the break, and 20. Look, in your case, it's very unlikely to be worth doing, even if you had a gap, because you're likely to make it up from work in the rest of your life. Although there is an exception to that I'll come to later. So how much does this cost? Well, the most you'll pay for a year is 824 quid. It might be a little bit less than that. And those who are self-employed, it can be a lot cheaper, just £160. But either way, when you buy a year, it adds £300 a year to your state pension. And currently, that is inflation-proofed, so it will go up with inflation each year. So you pay 800, you get 300. Let's look at this on a graph. Here you are. So your break-even point is less than 3 years. I mean, you pay £800 and you get it back in, well, you get 300 a year. After 3 years, you'd have £900 back plus inflation. And in fact, if we get to it, the life expectancy for a man who's hit age 65 is 85. So if you live that long, that would be a £5,000 gain per full year that you buy, 5,000 on 800. For a woman tends to live a couple of years longer, it would be a £5,500 gain. So, most people, though, may not have to pay for a full year because national insurance years are binary. You either get them or you don't. And if you've got 11 months of the 12, you don't. So that could mean you are buying just 1 week's worth of national insurance, 15 quid, and that could get you a full year that increases your state pension by £300 a year. And this is where I look at my youngsters in the room. If, you're probably still a bit young, but if you were 30, 35 maybe, if you were 30, 35 and you looked at this and you saw that you were short of a year and it was only going to cost you 15 quid to top it up now and you wouldn't be able to do it because it was 2006 to 2017, well, in that case, even though you might be throwing the money away because it might not gain it, I'd probably just do it anyway for the sake of if you stopped working or took a career break or worked entitled later, for the sake of 15 quid to get an extra year in, it's probably worth doing. Let's check. Steve, do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yep.
I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer. If it's less than 100 quid, you might just want to do it anyway, just in case, because it's so cheap to do.
Now, Martin, I've got a success here from Frank. He says, I had holes in my national insurance contributions, a 6-year hole with voluntary contributions costing £4,893.20.
20 is very important.
I paid, and now my pension will go up by £1,650.48 per annum. If I live to the average male age expectancy, I'll be in the black by £26,465.
Can you see the scale of numbers we're talking? And in a nice way, Frank, that's such an ordinary message because I've just been getting hundreds or thousands of messages on a similar scale, which is why this is so important. And if you know someone who's eligible and they're not watching the programme, tell them to watch it back on ITVX because this is not something people should be missing. I've got one more page to go here, I think. Yeah. If all this works out and you think it's right to you, do not do anything, do not apply, do not pay any money. This is complicated. I'm giving you broad brush. I'm encouraging you to act. This is a clarion call for action to the nation, but it's not a clarion call to do without checking. Step 1, call the Future Pension Centre for one-on-one advice, bespoke advice about your national insurance record and if topping up will boost your state pension because it is complicated. Now, those call lines have been blocked. I've been swamped with your messages. They have simply been unable to cope with the demand. It's been going on for a long time. I suspect much of it is because I've been shouting out there and people, you're nodding, you agree, it's my fault, I know. I'll take the blame and the credit in equal share for this one. Really important, if it's pre-2006 years you're missing, you can't buy them, don't call. Really important, if you're expecting a full state pension, don't call. You can't boost a full state pension, you're getting the full state pension. And also, if you're already at state pension age, it's not the Future Pension Centre for you, it's the pension service that you call. So you go through it with them and they will tell you whether it's likely to be worthwhile. Yet even so, I still have a baboon warning. Lots of buts. A clap for the humour. Just get in there. See, people normally like me for the money, Jal, but I think I'm very funny. Bit cheesy, but funny. Let's carry on. So, look, the problem with this is even if it's adding up, there can be issues because it might stop your entitlement to pension credit, or the returns might not be as good because it puts you in a higher tax bracket. But in very general terms, for most people, if the Future Pension Centre said it's worthwhile for you, it's very likely worthwhile for you. But then, after the jammed-up phone lines, if it is right for you, you then have to call, you can't do it online, HMRC, to get an 18-digit reference code, which you need so you pay the money into the right account. And that can be very busy too.